We start off with a short prologue telling us Romeo and Juliet will die. How lovely. We then get introduced to the feuding families, the House of Montague and the House of Capulet. As a normal day goes in the city of Verona, two people of the House of Capulet talking smack about the Montagues, one biting their thumb at them as they pass. The Elizabethan version of flipping someone off. "Did you bite your thumb at me, sir?" "And what if I did, Gregory? My sword." A fight then ensues as one of the Montagues, Benvolio, enters to try to calm it down, which doesn't work as Tybalt, a Capulet, comes to encourage it. This fight soon gets out of hand as even the citizens are fighting now, with the head of both Capulet and Montague at each other's necks. This doesn't last too long, as the prince shows up to tell everyone off. Being the fourth time this has happened, he decides to try a different means of conflict resolution. Threatening people, telling Lord Capulet and Lord Montague that if they ever fight again, peace will be bought with their lives. Everyone scatters, as expected, leaving Lord Montague to talk with his nephew Benvolio about what happened. Lady Montague, though, is just happy her son Romeo was not involved. Everyone has been very concerned about the boy, as all he's been doing is crying in dark rooms and being sad. Speak of the devil, here comes Romeo! Benvolio is determined to find out what's got his cousin so down, which was surprisingly easy. Love. Love? She doesn't love me back, dear cousin! Romeo rants about how sad he is, before spotting some blood on the floor from the fight, which somehow makes his ranting worse, as he continues to whine about how unfair love is and how lonely he is. "Are you laughing at me?" "No, dear cousin, I'm crying." Romeo goes on a bit more about the pains of love before attempting to bid Benvolio goodbye. This does not work. Romeo keeps trying to dodge Benvolio's question, but eventually confesses that his love has vowed to be a virgin forever. This saddens Romeo, as he is a teenage boy. But don't worry, Benvolio has a solution to his cousin's trouble, which is to just find Romeo a different pretty girl. Meanwhile, Paris is talking to Lord Capulet about his request to marry his daughter Juliet. Capulet reminds this adult that his daughter is only 13, and marriage should wait until she's at least a little bit older. Paris continues to be creepy, as Lord Capulet stops him by telling him about a party he is throwing, and he might find another girl there. Although, if his daughter Juliet does love him, then he might consider agreeing. The servant Peter is tasked to hand out all the invites for this party, but there's a little problem. It's that Peter can't read, so he's a little stuck on what to do. Lucky for him, he sees Romeo and Benvolio, two people who look like they can read. Romeo helps Peter out by reading him the list, but can't help but ask what the list of people is for. To which Peter tells him that it's an invite to a supper at his master's house, the great and rich Capulet. He also invites them to come along, as long as they're not from the House of Montague, of course. Benvolio, not hearing the last part, thinks this is a great opportunity to find Romeo another girl. Romeo, however, can't bear the thought, but still tags along to look at his love, Rosaline. Back with the Capulets. Lady Capulet, needing to speak to her daughter, gets nurse to call her in. Juliet comes in, and Lady Capulet is about to talk to her privately, but remembers she doesn't really know her daughter all that well, so she asks nurse to stay. "So, marriage?" Juliet's not sure on the concept yet, but her mother reminds her that many girls her age are already married, and that she herself was already a mother when she was at Juliet's age. "Grovis, I read something disturbing." She then basically tells her to marry Paris, and that he's coming to the feast tonight, which should be plenty of time for Juliet to fall in love. This doesn't excite Juliet as much as her maternal figures, as they talk about how handsome Paris is, while Juliet agrees to at least give it a chance. "Madame, the guests are here!" Dressed up in party masks, the Montague fellas are ready to enter the party. Benvolio attempts to get Romeo to dance at least once, but he's feeling too sad to. Before they sneak in, Romeo says one last line of foreshadowing. Lord Capulet welcomes everyone, then laments with his cousin about how old they are, while it takes Romeo all but 2 seconds to see a pretty girl and forget Rosaline ever existed. "A Montague! Uncle, there's a Montague!" "Leave him be. He's not hurting anyone." "But uncle, we're being dishonoured." "Leave him be, Tybalt. I will get my revenge." Romeo asks Juliet to dance, and they kiss a few times before being interrupted by Juliet's nurse, who tells Juliet her mother wants her, and it is here Romeo learns of Juliet's family, and is somehow shocked that he's a Capulet. At a Capulet's party. He's not that bright, okay? Juliet gets Nurse to find out the name of the stranger she danced with, and when she finds out it's her family's enemy, cursed love itself. Romeo sneaks off to go find Juliet, while Benvolio and Mercutio try to summon him, before concluding he doesn't want to be found, and heads back. Then, balcony scene! Oh, Romeo, Romeo, why art thou Romeo? She can talk. Juliet then catches wind that she's being watched, and Romeo reveals himself from the bushes, which doesn't freak Juliet out, somehow. They are lovey-dovey for a bit, talking about how they aren't allowed to be together, vows of love, blah, blah, blah. The nurse then calls for Juliet, and she has to leave, but not before arranging to send Romeo a message tomorrow. After Juliet leaves, Romeo thinks it's about time to get help from a priest. I'm not rewording that. It's the next day, and we are introduced to Friar Lawrence, minding his own business gathering herbs, before he's interrupted by Romeo. Marry me and Juliet! What? But my boy, what about Rosaline? Who? The poor priest goes along with Romeo's shenanigans, and decides to help him out this time, thinking it may bring peace between the two feuding families. Mercutio and Benvolio are still wondering where Romeo is, as he didn't come home last night. Turns out our boy Tybalt has sent a letter challenging Romeo to a duel, and Mercutio worries about Romeo, knowing his skinny arms are no match for Tybalt's sheer skills. Romeo, where did you go last night, you trickster? The three bant for a bit until Juliet's nurse and the Capulet servant Peter appears asking to speak to Romeo alone. Benvolio and Mercutio once again demonstrate that they are indeed teenage boys living in a patriarchal society, before leaving Nurse and Romeo alone. After Nurse calms down a bit after the insults, Romeo tells her to find a way for Juliet to attend confession at Friar Lawrence's cell that afternoon, so they can get married. Juliet is, patiently, waiting for Nurse to return with news of her life. Nurse, tell me everything. Go away, Peter. Nurse stalls a bit before giving in and telling Juliet about the plan to get them married. This makes her very happy. Fast forward a bit to later in the afternoon, and Juliet is even more happy as she is in Friar Lawrence's cell, currently getting married to Romeo. Yay! Back with the boys, Benvolio and Mercutio are wandering around until Tybalt appears. Oh no. It's okay though, because Tybalt just wants to talk to Romeo. Only a talk. Mercutio, as always, takes the opportunity to taunt him a bit. It is of course at this moment that Romeo enters. Ha! I never wanted to talk! But Romeo is all about peace and love. Tybalt's family now after all. So even when Tybalt demands he draw his sword, Romeo refuses. Well, if you won't, I will! Mercutio, no! Not to worry, it's only a scratch. Wait, no it isn't. Curse you both! With Mercutio dead, Romeo is no longer about peace and love. It's time to be angry. So when Tybalt re-enters, he does just that, killing Tybalt. He then flees the crime scene. Again? Really? Benvolio tries to explain what happened, but Lady Capulet calls him biased and demands Romeo dies. The prince instead goes of exile, saying that if Romeo comes back, then they can kill him. At the Capulets, Juliet is waiting for Romeo, but her mood is ruined when Nurse bursts in and tells her that Romeo is exiled because he killed Tybalt. Juliet's conflicted, because while Romeo killed Tybalt, Tybalt got Romeo exiled. She ends up deciding she cares more about Romeo though. In order to cheer her up, Nurse goes to find Romeo and bring him to her. At Friar Lawrence's cell, he tells Romeo that he isn't going to be executed, just banished. And Romeo's all dramatic about it. This becomes worse when Nurse enters and tells Romeo about how sad Juliet is. He then tries to fulfill the prophecy said at the start of the play. Romeo, no, my boy, you could still see her tonight, just leave by morning. Reminded that these two have only known each other for like 24 hours at this point. The nurse gives Romeo a ring from Juliet, while the friar tells Romeo to wait in Mantua for a messenger he will send. Back with the Capulets, Paris is once again trying to get Capulet to agree to let him marry Juliet. Except this time, Capulet agrees, saying that the wedding will happen on Wednesday, because what better way to cheer up his 13-year-old daughter over the death of her cousin than to marry her off to a fully grown man? Wait, what day is it? It's Monday. Make it Thursday instead. When morning comes, Romeo and Juliet part dramatically after their night together. Their time is cut short by the nurse, who tells Romeo to scurry off already, and that Juliet's parents are coming. Oh, Juliet! Guess who's going to marry Paris on Thursday? What? No! How dare you disobey me? I will disown you! Anyway, once the family has stopped being dysfunctional for now, we are left alone with Nurse and Juliet. But the nurse gives her an answer she doesn't like, so she runs off to Friar Lawrence instead. But unfortunately, when she gets to Friar Lawrence, Paris is already there. Paris is creepy, as always, but the friar ushers him out to speak to Juliet. Oh, Friar, I'd rather die than marry Paris! Okay, let's meet in the middle. Friar Lawrence tells his plan. Step 1. Agree to marry Paris. Step 2. Drink a sleeping potion the night before so everyone thinks you're dead. Step 3. Romeo comes to pick you up from the fake tomb and you live happily ever after in Mantua. The plan's foolproof! So when Juliet gets home, she does just that. Capulet is so happy he moves the wedding forward to tomorrow. This is a decision that will have no consequences later on whatsoever. Juliet successfully gets Lady Capulet and Nurse to leave her alone for a bit to ponder before she sleeps. She then moves to step 2. Oh, Juliet, are you ready for your big Juliet! Oh, my dear Juliet! I do funerals too. When Romeo finds out, he immediately heads towards the Capulet burial vault with a vial of poison. Back in Verona, Friar Lawrence meets with his pal Friar John, who was meant to send the message to Romeo, but unfortunately he was never able to send it. Plague happened. Friar Lawrence, fearing that Juliet will wake up scared, sends another letter explaining to Romeo the new plan before running off to the burial vault. At said vault, Romeo has just killed Paris and is currently monologuing to Juliet's corpse. With one last kiss, he downs his poison. Romeo, don't worry, my boy, she isn't really dead. Just then, Juliet wakes, and Friar Lawrence tells her that everything's gone wrong, and he'll take her to a nunnery. But there is no Romeo at a nunnery, so she refuses. Juliet then becomes dead for realsies as he takes Romeo's dagger and stabs herself. Friar Lawrence is left to explain everything when the prince and the two feuding families arrive, but bonding over the loss of their children suddenly are no longer feuding. If only it didn't take 6 deaths.